You ever notice how some families say, family helps family? But what they really mean is, you pay and we don't change? Because this wasn't just a Sunday roast. This was a setup. A Sunday roast became a battlefield over one house, one child, and the last thread of trust. Elliot sat at the table across from his parents and his older brother Graham in a dining room dressed for company. Cloth napkins, polished glasses, the whole "we're fine" costume. Elliot was 34, software consultant, single dad to a 10-year-old boy named Henry, the kind of man who keeps receipts, pays early, plans ahead. He'd paid off his house 2 years ago because he believed security was something you could earn. He believed that would buy him peace. He was wrong. His mother started with bad luck. His father followed with the family creed. Family helps family. And then came the real ask. Graham needed rent money. Again. Graham, 38, a decade of almosts. Music producer dreams, DJ plans, crypto newsletters, sudden downsizing. Always one more temporary problem that somehow became everyone else's emergency. Elliot had seen this movie. A few months turns into a year, and suddenly Graham is on a couch laughing with a controller while Elliot funds the whole illusion. But this time, Elliot said no. No guilt speech, no argument, just a line. I'm not draining my son's future to rescue a grown man who won't rescue himself. His parents stared like he'd cursed at the table. They didn't believe he meant it. That night his mom called with honey in her voice and guilt tucked into soft words. She invoked Henry. She pressed the old buttons. Duty, debt, after all we've done. Elliot held firm. And when the call ended, the silence felt new. It felt like freedom. Freedom lasted about 5 minutes, because a few days later a neighbor called. There's a moving truck in your driveway? Elliot drove home fast enough to feel his heartbeat in his teeth. And inside his house, Graham was already unpacked, guest room occupied, hoodie tossed like a flag. And Graham said it like it was no big deal. It's temporary. Mom said it was fine. Mom had given him a spare key. Elliot didn't yell. He changed the locks that afternoon. His mother showed up furious in the driveway. Elliot closed the door. The line held. So they escalated. Henry's school released him to his grandmother without permission. Assumption. It's family. Elliot fixed it with formal notice so sharp it might as well have been carved into stone. Then the bank alert hit. An attempted transfer from his checking account. $4,200. Blocked, logged, and traced to an internet address that led straight back to his parents. At that point, it wasn't miscommunication. It was an attempt. Elliot didn't go public. He went quiet. The quiet kind that gathers proof. He called his cousin Ava, a paralegal with a long memory. Ava checked the house records and found the real trap. When Elliot bought the home, his parents co-signed. He paid it off, but their names were still on the deed. Not because they owned it, because nobody bothered to remove them. A lien left that gave them leverage, and Ava found an email from Elliot's father to the loan officer years back. Remove our names after 5 years. This is Elliot's house. That email was gold. Elliot locked everything down. Passwords, 2-factor, new accounts, moved Henry's college fund, checked utilities and insurance. He built a firewall around his life and waited. Then he brought in a realtor, Celeste, and a title lawyer. Filed to correct the deed. His parents got served. And like clockwork, they sent a letter demanding $72,000 in equity. No proof, no tax payments, no maintenance records. Just a demand dressed up as law. Ava called it what it was, a bluff. Elliot responded with facts, documentation, and a warning about countersuits, harassment, defamation, attempted fraud. He kept his public moves small but strategic. A local newsletter ran a family boundaries cautionary story. No names. Everybody knew anyway. A forensic accountant mapped a decade of payments, every mortgage payment, tax, repair, upgrade. All Elliot. And time-stamped attempts to access his banking. Elliot started therapy too, not because he was weak, but because he was done being trained to carry other people's comfort like it was his job. Then the final escalation. His parents tried to enter the property again during the sale process, claiming co-ownership. Celeste recorded it. Footage was subpoenaed. And Elliot filed for declaratory judgment. Then court. Small room, big truth. Ava laid out the receipts like a slow clap. Elliot testified calmly, and the security footage played, his mother saying the quiet part out loud. That house was never his. The judge didn't argue. Did they live there? No. Did they pay property taxes? No. Did they contribute after the early years? Silence. And then it was over in the most unsatisfying, beautiful way possible. Not a speech, not justice music, just a gavel and a sentence. Sole legal and equitable owner, lien removed, equity claim denied, case closed. Elliot didn't gloat. He didn't post. He didn't clear his name online. He did something colder and healthier. He closed the chapter. He sold the house. Not because they deserved it, but because he was done living in a place that came with strings attached. He moved farther out, where the streets didn't know his last name. A smaller, cozier place. A backyard with a lemon tree that leaned toward the sun like it didn't owe anyone an explanation. Henry loved it immediately. First thing he said was, "Dad, we could sell lemonade." Like a kid's brain can smell peace and turn it into a plan. A month later, a letter arrived. Not an apology, an accusation. You chose money over blood. Elliot read it once. Then he folded it carefully, not out of respect, but out of finality. And he used it to light the fire pit. The paper curled and blackened and floated away like it had been waiting years to disappear. Henry came outside with 2 cups of lemonade, too sweet, too proud. And Elliot realized something as he watched his son try to price it $100 to the neighbor. The real win wasn't the house. It wasn't even the court ruling. The real win was this. His son was learning what peace looks like. Not loud, not dramatic, just steady, safe, unchanged by someone else's mood. That night, Henry asked, "Are Grandma and Grandpa mad forever?" Elliot didn't poison him with details. He just told him the truth a kid can hold. Sometimes people get mad when you stop letting them take things from you. Henry nodded, like he understood more than Elliot wanted him to. Then he said, "Okay, can we get pepperoni?" Elliot laughed for real. One of those laughs that comes from your chest, not your nerves. "Yeah," he said, "pepperoni." And as the crickets stitched the dark together, Elliot finally felt it. Not revenge, not victory. Relief. Because sometimes love requires limits. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is protect your child, even when the people you're protecting them from share your last name. If this hit close to home, tell me in the comments. What's the boundary you wish you'd set sooner? And if you want more stories like this, where the truth shows up in the receipts, subscribe to the Is It Just Me YouTube channel.